Dad kicked me out of the family WhatsApp group because my wife is Mexican, and he said he needed to protect the family's private conversations from outsiders. For 3 months, they organized barbecues, birthdays, and even my nephew's baptism without inviting me, while I continued depositing monthly the amount that was saving the house from foreclosure. I only found out I'd been removed when my cousin David called me, confused about why I wasn't responding to messages about my nephew's baptism. The baptism of a child I didn't even know existed until that phone call. I was sitting in my home office in Phoenix working on a cybersecurity audit when David's voice came through my headphones with genuine bewilderment. "Dude, your dad's been asking why you haven't RSVP'd for Tyler's baptism. Did you not see the messages?" he asked. I pulled up WhatsApp on my second monitor. The Morrison family group that had been there for 6 years was simply gone. Not archived, not muted, completely removed from my chat list. My hands stopped moving on the keyboard. Isabel, my wife, walked past my office door carrying laundry, her dark hair pulled back in a ponytail, completely unaware that my family had digitally erased me. "I'm not in the group anymore," I said slowly, my voice steady despite the acidic feeling spreading through my chest. David went silent for 3 full seconds. "What do you mean you're not in the group?" "I mean exactly that. Check the member list." I heard him tapping his phone. "Jesus Christ, you're really not there. When did this happen?" "I have no idea." "When's the baptism?" "This Sunday, at St. Agnes. Your dad's been organizing everything. Melissa's been posting pictures of the decorations. How could you not know about your own nephew's baptism?" After David hung up, promising to find out what happened, I sat staring at my banking app. The transfer had gone through 3 days ago, just like it had every month for the past 4 years. $1,500 deposited into my parents' joint checking account. The account that kept their Scottsdale house from being foreclosed on after Dad's construction company pension wasn't enough to cover the adjustable rate mortgage he'd taken out to renovate the kitchen. I'd been 29 when Dad called me, his voice tight with a pride that was crumbling. The bank had sent a pre-foreclosure notice. Mom was crying in the background. Kevin, my older brother, had just lost his job at the dealership for the 3rd time. Melissa was 7 months pregnant, and her husband barely made enough to support them. I was the only one with stable income and good credit. "I need $1,500 a month," Dad had said, unable to phrase it as a request. "Just until I get the refinance sorted out." 4 years later, the refinance had never happened. The $1,500 had become permanent, expected, never acknowledged as anything other than what a son should do. I'd automated the transfer, and honestly, I'd stopped thinking about it as anything other than a line item in my budget. Isabel knew about it. She'd never complained, even though that money could have paid off her student loans by now. David called back 30 minutes later, his voice low and angry. "I talked to Aunt Linda. She said your dad removed you from the group 6 weeks ago. She tried to tell him it was wrong, but he said he needed to protect the family's private conversations from outsiders." "Outsiders," I repeated. The word tasted like rust. "Yeah," meaning Isabel. He told Mom that they needed to be able to talk freely without worrying about the Mexican seeing their messages. The Mexican. My wife of 5 years. The woman who brought homemade tamales to every family Christmas. Who'd learned to make my grandmother's Swedish meatballs recipe. Who'd sat through 3-hour Thanksgiving dinners smiling through Dad's increasingly pointed comments about real Americans and people who belong here. Isabel appeared in my office doorway, her face concerned. "Nathan? What's wrong? You look sick." I turned my monitor toward her, showing her the banking app with its neat column of $1,500 transfers every month for 48 months. $72,000 total. Then I told her what David had said. She didn't cry. Isabel had been dealing with my father's barely concealed racism for 5 years. What she did was walk to my side, put her hand on my shoulder, and say 5 words that changed everything. "Are you going to stop?" I looked up at her, my wife with her teacher's salary that went toward helping her parents back in Hermosillo. My wife who'd never asked me to choose between her and my family, even though the choice should have been obvious from day one. "No," I heard myself say. "I'm going to keep paying. Every month. Right on schedule." Her eyebrows rose. "Why?" "Because I want to know exactly how much my family's hypocrisy costs." I pulled up a new spreadsheet and began documenting everything. Every transfer. Every date. Every confirmation number. I want a perfect record of every dollar I gave them while they decided my wife was too Mexican to see their private conversations. Isabel's hand tightened on my shoulder. She understood, probably before I fully did, that I wasn't being generous. I was building a case. Over the next 2 weeks, David became my spy without me even asking. He started forwarding me screenshots from the family group, birthday party invitations, photos of the baptism I wasn't invited to, my nephew Tyler in his tiny white suit, surrounded by my entire family. Mom, Dad, Kevin with his new girlfriend, Melissa with her husband and kids, even distant cousins I hadn't seen in years. There was a photo of Dad at a backyard barbecue, standing in front of the custom grill he'd installed with money from my automated transfers, holding a beer and laughing. The caption from Kevin read, "Best dad ever. Thanks for hosting." I saved every screenshot in a folder labeled Family on my encrypted drive. The worst one arrived in early August. It was a message from Dad in the family group. "Everyone remember we keep our plans in here. What's said in the family stays in the family. No outsiders need to know our business." Melissa had responded with a thumbs up emoji. Kevin had written, "Agreed. Family first." My finger hovered over Isabel's contact. I wanted to show her, wanted to share my rage, but she was in the other room video chatting with her parents in Spanish, laughing at something her father said. Her family had welcomed me instantly, completely, without reservation. Her mother called me Mijo. Her father had taught me how to properly grill carne asada. The contrast was unbearable. September arrived with Phoenix's brutal heat. The monthly transfer went through on schedule. I added a note in my spreadsheet. Month 49. Still excluded. Still paying. David sent me photos from my dad's 62nd birthday party. The whole family was there at a restaurant I'd taken them to for Mother's Day 2 years ago. My chair at the table was clearly, deliberately empty, but what David told me next made my blood run cold with understanding. "Your dad was complaining about money at the party," David said over the phone. "Said his pension barely covers the bills. Kevin asked him how he was managing, and your dad said he had his ways and changed the subject real quick. Nathan, I don't think any of them know you're still sending money." "What do you mean?" "I mean your dad is taking credit for keeping the house. Your mom thinks his pension got raised or something. They have no idea you're the reason they're not homeless." I sat back in my office chair, the full picture crystallizing. Dad had removed me from the family group, excluded me from every event for 3 months, called my wife an outsider, and was quietly depositing my $1,500 every month without telling anyone where it came from, letting them all believe he was handling everything himself. That's when I knew exactly what I was going to do. I spent the next 6 weeks becoming someone I'd never been before, methodical, calculating, and completely focused on documentation. Every morning before work, I'd check the family WhatsApp screenshots David sent me. Every evening, I'd update my spreadsheet with notes about family events I wasn't invited to. Isabel watched this transformation with concern at first, then with something that looked like grim approval. "You're building something," she said one night in late September, watching me organize files on my computer. "What exactly?" "Evidence," I replied. "Perfect, undeniable evidence." The September transfer went through. Month 50, $75,000 total. I added a new column to my spreadsheet. Days since last family contact. The number climbed steadily. 45, 50, 60 days. David called me in early October with news that made my jaw clench. "Your dad's planning a huge Thanksgiving dinner this year. He's inviting like 20 people, rented tables and everything. He's been bragging about how he's going to smoke 2 turkeys and a brisket." "Let me guess," I said. "I'm not invited." "You're not even mentioned, man. It's like you don't exist." I pulled up my budget projections. 2 smoked turkeys, a brisket, rented tables, decorations for 20 people. That would cost at least $800, probably more. Money Dad supposedly didn't have, according to his complaints about his tight pension. Money that was mysteriously available because $1,500 appeared in his account every month like magic. That night, I opened a new document titled Timeline of Exclusion. I began writing down everything in precise detail. June 15th, removed from family group without notification. June 20th, nephew's baptism occurred without my knowledge. July 8th, Dad's birthday party, deliberately not invited. August 22nd, family barbecue. Photos posted publicly on Facebook while I was blocked from private group. Isabel read over my shoulder. You're really doing this. They chose this, I said. Every single one of them. Mom knew I was removed and said nothing. Kevin and Melissa participated in every event, knowing I was excluded. They made a choice. Now they get to live with the consequences. And when will they find out? I looked at the calendar on my wall. Thanksgiving was 6 weeks away. Christmas was 10 weeks away. Christmas, I said. I'm going to tell them at Christmas. Isabel's dark eyes studied my face. You've changed. They changed me. The October transfer went through. Month 51. $76,500. I received screenshots of the family group discussing Thanksgiving logistics. Melissa asked if she should bring her famous green bean casserole. Kevin offered to pick up ice. Mom posted a message about how blessed she was to have such a wonderful family who always came together for the holidays. I wasn't mentioned once. In early November, something unexpected happened. Kevin called me directly for the first time in 5 months. My phone showed his name and I stared at it for 3 rings before answering, my heart rate accelerating with hope I immediately hated myself for feeling. Nathan, hey, it's Kevin. I know. What do you need? A pause. That's a weird way to answer the phone, bro. Is it? We haven't spoken since June. You didn't invite me to your nephew's baptism. You haven't answered any of my texts. So yeah, I'm assuming you need something. Another pause, longer this time. Look, I know things have been weird lately. Weird, that's one word for it. Dad said you've been busy with work, that you haven't had time for family stuff. The lie was so casual, so complete that I almost laughed. Is that what he said? Yeah. Anyway, I'm calling because my transmission just died. The dealership quoted me $4,000 for repairs. I was wondering if you could spot me the money. I'll pay you back in installments. I pulled up my spreadsheet while Kevin talked, scrolling through 48 months of transfers to our parents. Kevin had no idea about any of it. He thought Dad was independently solvent. He had no concept that I'd been keeping our parents' house out of foreclosure for 4 years while working my full-time job and building my own life. Kevin, when's the last time we had a conversation that wasn't you asking me for money? Come on, man. Don't be like that. Family helps family. Family? I repeated. Tell me, is Isabel considered family? Silence on the line. Heavy, guilty silence. Kevin, am I still in the family WhatsApp group? I don't. I mean, that's Dad's thing. I don't control that. That's not what I asked. Am I in the group? No, he admitted finally. But that doesn't mean... Did you attend my nephew's baptism? Nathan, come on. Did you attend a baptism I wasn't invited to, and then post pictures on social media knowing I could see them? Dad said you were busy. Dad lied to you. I was never told about the baptism. I was removed from the family group in June because Dad decided my wife is an outsider who shouldn't see private family conversations, and you all went along with it. Every single one of you. Kevin's breathing changed. Look, I don't get involved in Dad's drama. You got involved the moment you attended family events you knew I wasn't invited to. You got involved when you posted happy family photos without questioning why your brother wasn't there. So, you're not going to help me with my transmission? The entitlement in his voice was staggering. No, Kevin, I'm not going to help you with your transmission, but I'll see you at Christmas. What? Dad said you probably wouldn't come to Christmas. Oh, I'll be there, I said. You can count on that. I hung up before he could respond. Isabel was standing in the doorway, her arms crossed. Your brother has no idea what you've been doing for your parents. None of them do. Dad's been taking credit for everything. The November transfer went through. Month 52. $78,000. 1 full year of payment since my exclusion began. David's screenshots showed the family group buzzing with Thanksgiving excitement. Mom posted about her menu planning. Melissa shared a photo of her kids making hand turkey decorations at the dining table that Dad's money, my money, had purchased. Dad posted a message that made my hands shake. Can't wait to have my whole family together for Thanksgiving. This is what it's all about. The people who matter most, gathered around one table. His whole family, the people who matter most. I wasn't even a ghost to them anymore. I was completely erased. Thanksgiving arrived on a Thursday in late November. Isabel's parents had invited us to spend it with them in Hermosillo, but I declined, claiming work obligations. The truth was, I wanted to sit in my Phoenix condo, while my family gathered 30 minutes away in Scottsdale, eating food purchased with money they didn't know came from me. Isabel didn't argue. She understood what I needed. We ordered Chinese food and ate it quietly while I refreshed David's message thread, waiting for the photos I knew would come. They arrived at 7 p.m., Dad in front of the smoker, grinning. The 2 turkeys perfectly browned, the rented tables set up in the backyard covered with fall decorations. 23 people total, according to David's count. Mom in her good dress, Kevin with his new girlfriend who I'd never met, Melissa's kids running around with cousins, everyone smiling, laughing, celebrating family togetherness. I saved every photo in my encrypted folder, now labeled Evidence of Exclusion. Isabel sat next to me on the couch, her hand finding mine. One more month, I agreed. The next morning, I did something I'd been planning for weeks. I drafted an email to my family, but I didn't send it. Instead, I saved it in my drafts folder, revising it daily, perfecting every word. The email contained a complete accounting of every transfer I'd made for 52 months. Every date, every amount, every confirmation number. It included screenshots of the family WhatsApp group from before my removal. It included screenshots of every event I wasn't invited to after June 15th. The subject line read, "The real cost of family first." I wasn't going to send it yet. That would give them time to prepare excuses, to craft their defense. No, I was going to read it aloud at Christmas dinner, in front of the entire extended family, and then send it from my phone while standing in their living room, so they couldn't claim I'd fabricated anything. David called me on the first Friday of December. "Christmas planning is starting in the group. Your dad's talking about doing a white elephant gift exchange this year. Maximum $50 gifts." "Perfect," I said. "Tell me when he finalizes the date and time." "Nathan, what exactly are you planning?" "Justice," I replied. "Tell me, does Dad ever mention being stressed about money in the group?" "All the time. Just yesterday he was complaining about property tax increases." I pulled up the property tax records for my parents' address. The annual bill was $6,200 due in 2 installments. The first installment had been due in October. Dad's pension couldn't cover that, plus the mortgage, plus utilities, plus food. But the $1,500 I sent every month gave him just enough cushion to manage it all. And he'd never told anyone I was helping. "David, I need you to do something for me," I said. "At Christmas, I need you to make sure everyone's there before I arrive. Text me when Dad's in the middle of opening presents or making a toast or something. I want maximum attendance." "You're really going scorched earth on this." They went scorched earth on me first. They just didn't realize it because I kept watering their ashes with money. December crawled forward with agonizing slowness. The monthly transfer went through. Month 53, $79,500. David sent screenshots of Christmas planning. Mom wanted everyone there by 2 p.m. on December 23rd. Dad was planning his famous prime rib dinner. Melissa was organizing a cookie exchange. And then, 8 days before Christmas, David sent me a screenshot that made everything crystallize into perfect, terrible clarity. It was a message from Dad in the family group. "Just want to say how grateful I am for all of you. Times have been tough financially, but we've managed to keep this house and keep this family together through hard work and sacrifice. I'm proud that we've never had to rely on anyone outside the family. We take care of our own. That's the Morrison way. Never had to rely on anyone outside the family. We take care of our own." I read the message 7 times, feeling something cold and final settle into my chest. This wasn't just exclusion anymore. This was theft. This was fraud. Dad was actively lying about the source of the money that kept their lives stable, taking credit for my sacrifice while erasing me from the family narrative. Isabel found me staring at my phone in the dark living room. "What happened?" I showed her the message. She read it twice, then sat down next to me. "Nathan, you need to understand something. When you do this, there's no going back. You'll blow up your entire family." "They already blew it up," I said. "I'm just going to show them the crater they've been standing in for 6 months. Some of them might not have known the full extent of what your dad was doing. They all attended events I wasn't invited to. They all saw my empty chair and said nothing. They all chose comfort over calling out racism and exclusion. I looked at her. This woman my father had called an outsider. Every single one of them chose wrong. She studied my face for a long moment. Okay, then we do this together. I'm coming with you to Christmas. Isabel, they don't want you there. Exactly, that's why I'm coming. The final 2 weeks before Christmas moved like a dream, where everything feels both too fast and impossibly slow. I refined my presentation every night, adding details, removing emotion, making it clinical and undeniable. Isabel helped me print out documentation. 53 bank statements showing automated transfers of $1,500 on the same date each month. 4 years of financial records. A timeline of my exclusion with dates, events, and screenshots. You're building a prosecutor's case file, Isabel observed one evening, watching me 3 hole-punch pages and organize them in binders. That's exactly what this is, I replied, and I want no room for misinterpretation. David continued sending screenshots from the family group. The Christmas planning accelerated. Mom posted about her shopping expedition with Melissa, buying decorations for the house. Kevin shared a photo of the bottle of expensive whiskey he'd purchased as Dad's gift. The extended family, aunts, uncles, cousins, all confirmed their attendance in a flurry of enthusiastic messages. On December 18th, Dad posted, 5 days until our Christmas celebration. Can't wait to see everyone. This year has been challenging, but we've stayed strong as a family. Looking forward to celebrating that strength together. I screenshot it and added it to the binder under a tab labeled False Statements. That same evening, Kevin texted me directly for the first time since the transmission conversation. Hey, are you coming to Christmas or what? Dad said he hasn't heard from you. I stared at the message for a full minute before responding. I'll be there. Cool. Can you bring some of Isabel's tamales? Everyone always loves those. The casual audacity of it paralyzed me. He wanted my excluded wife to provide food for the family that had labeled her an outsider. I typed and deleted 3 different responses before settling on no. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then nothing. Kevin didn't respond. Isabel saw my expression. What did he ask for? When I told her, she laughed, a sharp, bitter sound I'd never heard from her before. Of course they want my tamales. They want everything from us, except our actual presents. 4 more days, I said. On December 20th, I did something that felt both necessary and cruel. I went to the bank and scheduled the cancellation of my automated transfer. The last payment would process on December 15th. There would be no January payment, no February payment, no more payments ever. The mortgage that had been current for 4 years would suddenly be short by $1,500 every month, indefinitely. The bank representative processing the cancellation looked at the transfer history. This is a lot of money over a long period. May I ask why you're stopping it? Family decision, I said simply. That night, I calculated the timeline. Dad's pension was $3,200 a month. The mortgage was $2,800. That left $400 for everything else. Property taxes, utilities, food, insurance, maintenance. $400 for 2 people to live for an entire month. Without my $1,500, the house of cards would collapse by February. Isabel watched me work through the numbers. You're not just confronting them. You're destroying their financial stability. They'll still have options, I said. They can sell the house, downsize, move to an apartment. There are solutions. But you're not going to offer those solutions. No, I'm not. I looked up at her. Is that wrong? She considered this carefully. If you'd asked me 6 months ago, I'd probably say yes, but they spent 6 months erasing you while taking your money in secret. They called me an outsider while eating food I brought. They posted about family values while excluding their own son. She shook her head. I think maybe some consequences are earned. December 22nd arrived. David texted, full house tomorrow. Dad's expecting like 30 people. He's been cooking since yesterday. The place looks amazing. I responded, what time should I arrive? Wait, you're actually coming? Does your dad know? No. I want it to be a surprise. What time has the most people? A long pause. Jesus, Nathan, you're really doing this? Probably around 3 p.m. That's when Dad usually makes his toast before dinner. Perfect. I'll be there at 3. That evening I laid out my outfit for the next day. Dress slacks, button-down shirt, blazer, professional, controlled. I packed my binder of evidence in a leather messenger bag. I charged my phone fully and triple-checked that the email was ready in my drafts folder. Isabel watched these preparations with concern. "You haven't slept well in days." "I'll sleep after tomorrow." "Nathan, once you do this, your relationship with your family is over. Completely over. Are you ready for that?" I thought about the baptism I wasn't invited to, the birthday party where my chair sat empty, the Thanksgiving photos of everyone I loved gathered without me, the message where Dad claimed they'd never relied on anyone outside the family while my automated transfer kept his house out of foreclosure. "Yes," I said. "I'm ready." We barely slept that night. At 2 a.m., I found Isabel in the kitchen, making coffee. "Couldn't sleep either?" "Kept thinking about what happens after," she admitted. "Your mom is going to hate me even more. Mom chose her side 6 months ago when she didn't speak up about the WhatsApp group. Your siblings are going to lose their inheritance. That house is probably the only asset your parents have. They can choose to support Dad's lies or accept the truth. Either way, consequences exist." She poured coffee into 2 mugs, sliding one across the counter to me. "My family would never understand this. In our culture, family is everything. You forgive, you move forward. Your family would never have excluded me in the first place." "That's true." She sipped her coffee. "Okay, I'm with you. We do this together." December 23rd dawned clear and cold by Phoenix standards, 60 degrees with sharp blue sky. I showered, dressed, checked my phone obsessively. David sent updates throughout the morning. "People are starting to arrive, lots of cars in the driveway. Your dad's wearing his Christmas sweater, playing host." At 2:30, Isabel and I got in the car. The drive from Phoenix to Scottsdale took 35 minutes in light traffic. Neither of us spoke much. Isabel held my hand across the center console, her grip tight. At 2:55, we pulled onto my parents' street. The sight of it hit me harder than I'd expected. A dozen cars lining both sides of the road. Christmas lights wrapped around every pillar and rail of the house I'd grown up in. The house I'd been keeping out of foreclosure without anyone knowing. The house where, inside, my entire family was celebrating Christmas without me. My phone buzzed. "David, Dad's about to make his toast. Like 25 people here. Now or never." I looked at Isabel. "Last chance to change your mind." She shook her head. "Let's go." We walked up the driveway side by side. Through the front windows, I could see people moving around, laughing, holding drinks. Christmas music drifted out, muffled by the walls. I raised my hand to ring the doorbell, then stopped. "Actually," I said, "let's use my key." I'd never given back my house key. They'd never asked for it, probably because they'd mentally erased my existence so completely that they forgot I had one. I slid it into the lock, turned it, and pushed open the front door. The sound of Christmas music swelled. Laughter and conversation filled the air. The smell of prime rib and roasted vegetables. I stepped into the foyer with Isabel beside me, and for a moment, no one noticed us. The living room was packed with family members. I saw aunts, uncles, cousins I'd known my entire life. Everyone dressed festively, holding drinks, smiling. Then someone saw me, Cousin Julie. Her face went from cheerful to shocked, her mouth forming a perfect O. She nudged the person next to her, who turned and saw me. The reaction rippled through the room like a wave. Conversations stopped. Heads turned. The Christmas music suddenly seemed too loud in the growing silence. I saw Kevin near the fireplace, his arm around his girlfriend. His face went pale. I saw Melissa on the couch, holding one of her kids. Her expression shifted from surprise to something that looked almost like fear. I saw Mom in the kitchen doorway, her hand rising to her mouth. And then I saw Dad, standing in the center of the living room with a glass of wine raised, clearly interrupted mid-toast. His face went through several transformations: confusion, recognition, and then something harder: defensive anger. "Nathan," he said, his voice cutting through the silence. "What are you doing here?" I stepped fully into the living room, Isabel beside me, her presence deliberate and undeniable. I set my messenger bag on the coffee table with a soft thud that sounded like a gavel in the quiet room. "I'm here for Christmas, Dad," I said, my voice steady and clear. "You know, that family holiday we celebrate together? I brought some things I wanted to share with everyone." Mom moved forward from the kitchen. "Nathan, maybe this isn't the best time." "Actually, Mom, this is the perfect time. Everyone's here. The whole family, right? That's what Dad was just saying in his toast?" I looked directly at my father. "What were you toasting to? Family strength? Family values?" Dad's jaw tightened. "I don't know what you think you're doing, but this is inappropriate." "Is it? Is it inappropriate to show up to a family Christmas? Or is it only inappropriate when your son brings his Mexican wife?" I gestured to Isabel. "You remember Isabel, right? My wife of 5 years? The outsider who shouldn't see private family conversations?" Audible gasps around the room. Several people looked genuinely shocked, glancing between Dad and me. Aunt Marie, Dad's sister, spoke up. "Robert, what is he talking about?" I pulled my phone from my pocket. "I'm talking about being removed from the family WhatsApp group in June because Dad decided Isabel was a threat to family privacy. I'm talking about not being invited to my nephew's baptism, my dad's birthday party, Thanksgiving dinner, or any family event for 6 months." "That's not," Dad started. "I have screenshots," I interrupted, pulling up my photo gallery. "David's been forwarding them to me. Would you like to see?" June 15th, Dad posts about removing outsiders from family conversations. July 8th, birthday party photos without me. August 22nd, family barbecue. November 26th, Thanksgiving for 23 people while Isabel and I ate Chinese food alone. The room was completely silent now. Even the kids had stopped making noise. Mom looked like she might faint. Kevin was staring at the floor. Melissa had tears in her eyes, though I couldn't tell if they were guilt or fear. I unzipped my messenger bag and pulled out the 3-ring binder. But that's not even the interesting part. The interesting part is what I've been doing while all of this was happening. Dad's face changed. Something flickered in his eyes. Panic, maybe, or the first dawning realization of what was coming. See, even though I was excluded from every family event for 6 months, I continued doing something very specific, something I've been doing for 4 years. I opened the binder to the first page. This is a bank statement from December 2020. It shows an automated transfer of $1,500 from my account to a joint checking account belonging to Robert and Linda Morrison. That's you, Mom, and Dad. I pulled out the next page. Here's January 2021, another $1,500, February, March, April. I started laying pages on the coffee table, one after another, creating a paper trail across the surface. 53 consecutive months of $1,500 transfers. That's $79,500 total. Someone gasped. Multiple people, actually. I heard someone whisper, "Oh my God." Mom's voice was barely audible. "Nathan, please." "Wait, I'm not done with the interesting part." I pulled out my laptop from the messenger bag, opened it, and turned it so everyone could see the screen. "This is your mortgage history. Dad, public record, very easy to access. In June 2020, you received a pre-foreclosure notice. Your adjustable rate mortgage had increased to $2,800 a month, and your pension of $3,200 wasn't enough to cover it plus property taxes and living expenses." I clicked to the next screen. "That's when you called me. Remember that conversation? You needed $1,500 a month just until the refinance went through. That was 4 years ago. The refinance never happened. The $1,500 became permanent." I looked around the room at my extended family, watching them process this information. Now here's where it gets truly fascinating. For the first 3.5 years, I was part of the family. I attended every holiday, every birthday, every celebration. Then in June of this year, I was removed from the family WhatsApp group because my wife is Mexican. I pulled out more screenshots, but the $1,500 kept coming. Every month. June, July, August, September, October, November, December. 7 months of payments after my exclusion. 7 times $1,500 is $10,500. That's how much I've paid to support a family that decided I was no longer part of it. The silence was suffocating. I could see people doing math in their heads, their faces shifting from confusion to understanding to horror. "Kevin," I said, turning to my brother, "remember when you called me in November asking for $4,000 for your transmission? You asked me because you thought I had extra money. But you want to know the funny thing? If Dad had told you the truth about where his financial stability came from, you'd have realized I'd already given the family $77,000 at that point. You were asking me for more money on top of the money I'd been secretly providing for years. Kevin looked sick. I turned to Dad. And you. You posted a message about family strength and how proud you were that you'd never had to rely on anyone outside the family. You posted that in December while depositing my money into your account. Money that kept this house from foreclosure. Money that paid for the smoker you used at Thanksgiving. Money that's probably paying for the prime rib dinner you're serving today. Dad's face had gone from defensive to ashen. You don't understand the full situation? Then explain it, I said sharply. Explain to everyone here how you removed me from family communications, excluded me from family events, called my wife an outsider, and then quietly continued accepting my money without telling anyone. Explain how you posted about family values while committing fraud by taking credit for financial stability that I provided. Dad opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. No words came out. For the first time in my life, I watched my father, the man who always had an answer, who always controlled the narrative, completely speechless. Mom stepped forward, her voice shaking. Nathan, your father was trying to protect family privacy. From his own son? I interrupted. Let me ask you something, Mom. All these months when you saw my chair empty at family events, what did you tell yourself? How did you rationalize excluding your own child? She couldn't meet my eyes. Your father said you were busy with work, and you believed that? For 6 months straight? You believed I was too busy for my nephew's baptism, Dad's birthday, Thanksgiving, and Christmas? I shook my head. Or did you just choose not to ask questions because it was easier than confronting what was really happening? Melissa spoke up, her voice small. We didn't know about the money. Nathan, I swear we didn't know. Didn't know or didn't ask, I countered. You attended a baptism I wasn't invited to. You posted pictures knowing I'd see them. You participated in every family event while I was excluded. Whether you knew about the money or not, you chose to go along with my erasure. David, still standing near the back of the room, spoke quietly. I tried to tell people it was wrong, that it didn't make sense. I know you did, I said. You're the only one who questioned it, the only one who actually checked on me. I looked back at the assembled family. The rest of you made a choice. You chose comfort over confrontation. You chose easy family gatherings over asking hard questions about why I wasn't there. Uncle Mike, Dad's brother, cleared his throat. Robert, is all of this true? Have you really been taking money from Nathan while excluding him? Dad's face flushed red. It's more complicated than he's making it sound. It's actually very simple, I interrupted. Here's what happens next. That automated transfer I showed you, the one that's been running for 53 months, I canceled it last week. The final payment already processed. There will be no January payment, no February payment, no more payments ever. The color drained from Dad's face completely. You can't. I absolutely can. It's my money. I've been giving it voluntarily for 4 years. Now I'm voluntarily stopping. Mom's hand went to her mouth. She understood immediately what this meant. Without that $1,500, their monthly budget had a massive hole. The mortgage would become impossible. The property taxes would become impossible. Everything would become impossible. Nathan, please, Mom whispered. We can fix this. We can talk about this. We could have talked about it in June when Dad removed me from the WhatsApp group, I said. We could have talked about it at any of the family events I wasn't invited to. We could have talked about it when Kevin called asking for money while I was already secretly supporting the entire family. I closed my laptop. But we didn't talk about it, because all of you chose silence. Kevin finally found his voice, though it came out defensive and angry. So what, this is revenge? You're going to tank Mom and Dad's finances because your feelings got hurt? My feelings got hurt? I repeated, my voice rising for the first time. My wife was called an outsider. I was digitally erased from the family. I was excluded from my own nephew's baptism. And through all of that, I continued paying $1,500 a month to support the family that rejected me. I stepped toward Kevin. You want to talk about revenge? This isn't revenge. This is consequences. There's a difference. They're going to lose the house, Melissa said, tears streaming down her face now. They have options, I replied. They can sell this house and buy something within their actual means. They can downsize, move to an apartment, apply for pension increases, cut expenses. I looked at Dad. What they can't do anymore is pretend they're financially independent while secretly relying on the son they excluded. Aunt Marie spoke again, her voice sharp with anger, but it wasn't directed at me. Robert, I don't understand. How could you do this? How could you take money from your own son while treating him this way? I didn't, Dad started, but his sister cut him off. Don't lie to me. I've known you your entire life. I can see it on your face. Everything Nathan's saying is true, isn't it? The room waited. Every eye was on Dad. He looked around, perhaps searching for an ally, someone who would defend him. He found none. Even Mom had stepped away from him slightly, creating physical distance. Things were said in the WhatsApp group that were private family matters, Dad finally said, his voice tight. I made a decision to protect those conversations by excluding your own son because of who he married, Aunt Marie stated flatly. That's the real reason, isn't it? You didn't want Isabel seeing what you were really saying. Dad's jaw clenched. He didn't respond, which was answer enough. I pulled out my phone again. Since we're sharing, let me read something from the WhatsApp group. This is from July 23rd, Dad's message. Times are changing, but we don't have to change with them. This family has values and we need to protect them. Sometimes that means making hard choices about who gets a voice at our table. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the room. Some people looked genuinely shocked. Others looked uncomfortable, perhaps recognizing the coded racism in Dad's words. And here's another one from October, I continued. Dad wrote, just want to say how grateful I am for all of you. We've managed to keep this house and keep this family together through hard work and sacrifice. I'm proud that we've never had to rely on anyone outside the family. I looked up from my phone. He wrote that while my $1,500 transfer was processing, while I, the excluded son, was literally keeping his house from foreclosure. Uncle Mike shook his head slowly. Robert, this is shameful. Truly shameful. Kevin tried one more defense. Okay, but Nathan, you didn't have to keep sending the money if you were so upset about being excluded. You're right, I agreed. I could have stopped in June, but I wanted to know exactly how far this would go. I wanted perfect documentation of every dollar I gave while being treated like I didn't exist. I wanted to see if anyone would notice, if anyone would ask questions, if anyone would realize that Dad's financial stability didn't add up mathematically. I gestured around the room. No one did. You all just accepted the comfortable fiction that Dad was handling everything. Isabel, who had been silent beside me this entire time, finally spoke. Her voice was quiet, but clear. I want you all to know something. Nathan didn't tell me he was going to do this. He didn't ask my permission to cancel the payments. When he told me what he was planning, I asked him if he was sure. He said yes. And you know what? I'm proud of him. She looked around the room, meeting eyes that wouldn't hold her gaze. You called me an outsider. Some of you barely spoke to me at family events even before this. But I spent 5 years trying to be part of this family. I learned your recipes. I brought food to your celebrations. I smiled through comments about real Americans and people who belong here. Her voice strengthened. My family welcomed Nathan from day one. They call him family without qualification. So when he tells me he's done financially supporting people who treat us both as less than, I support that decision completely. The silence after her words was profound. Shame was visible on multiple faces. Good people who hadn't participated in Dad's decision, but also hadn't challenged it, who'd accepted exclusion as normal to avoid family conflict. Dad finally spoke, and what came out was revealing in its desperation. Fine, you've made your point. You've embarrassed me in front of everyone. Is that what you wanted? Now are you going to keep helping with the mortgage or not? The entitlement in his question was staggering. After everything, his primary concern was whether the money would continue. No, I said simply. I'm not. So you're just going to let us lose our house? I'm going to stop preventing you from losing a house you can't afford. There's a difference. I started putting my documentation back into the messenger bag. You made choices, Dad. You chose to exclude me. You chose to take my money secretly. You chose to lie to the family about your financial situation. Now you get to live with those choices. Mom was crying openly now. Nathan, please, we can fix this as a family. We stopped being family in June. I said. You all decided that. I'm just accepting your decision and acting accordingly. I pulled out my phone one final time and opened my email. Before I leave, I'm going to send one email. It contains everything I've shown you today, all the bank records, all the screenshots, the timeline of my exclusion, Dad's messages about family values, and my final accounting of $79,500 given to support people who erased me. I looked around the room. I'm sending it to everyone on the Morrison family email list, not as revenge, as transparency. So there's no confusion about what happened here and why. Nathan, don't, Dad started, but I was already hitting send. Too late, it's done. I shouldered my messenger bag. Merry Christmas, everyone. Isabel and I walked toward the door. Behind us, the silence was beginning to break. Voices rising, questions being thrown at Dad, family members pulling out their phones to check their email. I heard Aunt Marie's voice, sharp and angry. Robert James Morrison, you have destroyed this family. At the door, I turned back one more time. One more thing. In February, when your mortgage payment bounces because you don't have my $1,500, you're going to realize exactly how much I was contributing to your life. You're going to panic. You're going to call me, probably. Maybe you'll try to apologize. Maybe you'll try to guilt me. I paused. Don't bother. My number is blocked for all of you except David. Whatever happens from here, you handle it yourselves. Like real family does, we drove away in silence, Isabel's hand gripping mine across the console. Neither of us looked back at the house. My phone, which I'd placed in the cup holder, began vibrating incessantly. Calls, texts, emails flooding in. I ignored all of it. 5 minutes into the drive, Isabel let out a breath she seemed to have been holding for an hour. That was the most brutal thing I've ever witnessed. Was it wrong? I asked, my hand steady on the wheel despite the adrenaline still coursing through me. No. It was necessary. There's a difference. She squeezed my hand tighter. How do you feel? I considered the question carefully. How did I feel? The family I'd known my entire life had just imploded in spectacular fashion. I'd publicly destroyed my father's reputation and deliberately ensured my parents would face serious financial consequences. I'd done it methodically, with documentation and planning, without yelling or losing control. I feel clear, I said finally. For the first time in 6 months, I feel absolutely clear. My phone continued vibrating. A call from Kevin, a text from Melissa, another call from a number I didn't recognize, probably an aunt or uncle. I let them all go to voicemail. David texted, "Holy shit, Nathan, the house is in chaos. Your dad is trying to claim you're lying, but everyone's reading the email. Your Aunt Marie is destroying him. Are you okay?" I typed back, "I'm good. Thanks for having my back. Take care of yourself in there. Your mom is asking if there's any way to fix this. Tell her there isn't. This is done." Isabel read the exchange over my shoulder. "Do you think any of them will actually understand why you did this?" "Some of them already do. Did you see the faces in that room? Some people were genuinely shocked. They had no idea what Dad had been doing. Those people might eventually understand." I merged onto the highway back to Phoenix. But Dad, Kevin, probably Melissa, they'll never get it. They'll make me the villain in their version of this story. Can you live with that? I have to. The alternative was continuing to be erased while funding their lives. That wasn't sustainable. We spent that evening at home, ordering pizza and deliberately not checking my phone. Isabel's parents called from Hermosillo, concerned after Isabel texted them a brief summary of what had happened. Her father's voice came through the speaker, warm with support. "Mijo, you did the right thing. Family means nothing if there's no respect." The next morning, Christmas Eve, I finally looked at my phone. 73 missed calls, over 200 text messages, 56 emails. I scrolled through them clinically, reading select messages. From Kevin, "You destroyed our family over pride. Dad made mistakes, but you're worse. Mom is devastated. Hope you're happy." From Melissa, "I didn't know about the money. I didn't know. Please don't punish Mom for Dad's mistakes. We can fix this if you'll just talk to us." From an aunt I barely knew, "Your father has been bragging about his financial management for years. Now we know it was all lies. You should have exposed him sooner." From Uncle Mike, "Your father and I had a long conversation last night. He's admitted to poor judgment. The family is fractured. I don't know if this can be repaired, but I want you to know I understand why you did it." From Mom, sent at 4 in the morning, "Nathan, I am so sorry. I should have spoken up in June. I should have questioned your father. I chose the easy path and lost my son. I understand if you can't forgive me. I'm not sure I can forgive myself. That last message sat heavy in my chest. Mom's apology felt genuine in a way nothing else had, but it also felt insufficient. 6 months of silence, of complicity, couldn't be erased by one late-night text. Isabel read it over my shoulder. Are you going to respond to her? Not yet. Maybe not ever. I don't know. On December 26th, David called. You need to know what's happening. Your dad is telling everyone who'll listen that you're vindictive and ungrateful. He's claiming the money was a loan that he was planning to pay back. He's saying you ambushed him at Christmas as psychological warfare. Is anyone believing him? Some people are. Your brother is backing his version completely, but a lot of the family isn't. Your Aunt Marie has been calling relatives and sharing the email you sent. The documentation is pretty damning, Nathan. Bank records don't lie. What about Mom? She's barely speaking. Stays in her room mostly. I think she's genuinely devastated. And the house situation? David hesitated. They're trying to figure out options. Your dad called the bank to see about refinancing, but without your income to add to the application, they don't qualify. He's looking at downsizing possibilities, but everything in their price range is in rough areas, and your mom is refusing to consider it. That's not my problem anymore, I said, and meant it. January arrived with Arizona's brief winter. The first mortgage payment without my $1,500 came due. I didn't know if my parents managed to cover it somehow. Sold something, borrowed from someone, dipped into retirement savings. I didn't ask. David stopped sending updates unless I specifically requested them, respecting the boundary I'd set. Isabel and I spent New Year's Eve with her family in Hermosillo. Her parents' home was filled with warmth, laughter, food, and unconditional acceptance. Her father toasted to family. Real family, he specified, the kind built on respect and love rather than obligation and blood. As midnight approached and fireworks lit the sky over the city, Isabel pulled me aside on the patio. Do you regret it? She asked. Any of it? I thought about the question seriously, examining my feelings with the clarity that distance had provided. I regret that it was necessary. I regret that my family chose the path they chose. But do I regret my response? No, not even a little. Good, she said, and kissed me as fireworks exploded above us. February brought the consequences I'd anticipated. The mortgage payment bounced. Dad's account didn't have sufficient funds. The bank assessed fees and sent notices. I knew this because Kevin called from a number I didn't have blocked, and in his desperation, left a voicemail. Nathan, the house is going into foreclosure. This is on you. Whatever point you were trying to make, you've made it. Now fix this before Mom and Dad lose everything. I deleted the voicemail without responding. March brought foreclosure proceedings. The bank filed official paperwork. My parents had 90 days to bring the mortgage current or face eviction. During this time, several family members reached out through various channels. Distant cousins, family friends, even my childhood barber who'd heard about the situation through the Morrison family grapevine. Some messages were accusatory. You're letting your elderly parents become homeless over a grudge. Some were manipulative. Your mother is having stress-related health problems. Is your pride worth her life? Some were genuinely curious. Can you explain what actually happened? We're hearing different stories. I responded to none of them. Isabel fielded the few that came through her social media, politely but firmly stating that the situation was private family business, and we wouldn't be commenting further. By April, reality had fully set in for my parents. They listed the Scottsdale house for sale. The market was good, and they received multiple offers within 2 weeks. The house that Dad had been so proud of, that had represented his success and stability, sold for enough to pay off the remaining mortgage and give them about $80,000 in equity. David reported that they'd found a 2-bedroom apartment in a less affluent area of Phoenix. The rent was $1,200 a month, just within their budget with both pensions and no mortgage. Mom would have to go back to full-time work instead of part-time. Dad would have to adjust to dramatically reduced circumstances. No more prime rib dinners for 30 people. No more expensive whiskey. No more playing the successful patriarch. Your mom asked me to tell you they're moving next week, David said during one of our now infrequent calls. She wanted you to know, in case you wanted any belongings from the house. I don't want anything from there, I replied. She also wanted me to tell you that she understands why you did what you did. She said to tell you that she's sorry and that she hopes someday you might be willing to talk to her. Not now. She knows it's too soon. But someday. Something in my chest tightened at that. What did Dad say? Dad says you're dead to him, that he never wants to hear your name again. The feeling is mutual. In May, I received an unexpected letter. Physical mail, handwritten on stationery I recognized as Mom's. Isabel found me staring at the envelope unopened. Are you going to read it? She asked. I don't know. Want me to read it first? I can summarize if it's manipulative. I handed it to her. She opened the envelope carefully, unfolded 2 pages of Mom's neat handwriting, and read silently. Her expression shifted as she processed the contents. Surprise, sadness, something that might have been respect. It's not manipulative, she said finally. It's accountability. She lists every moment she should have spoken up and didn't. Every time she chose your father's comfort over your dignity. She doesn't ask for forgiveness or try to excuse anything. She just owns it. All of it. Does she mention the money? Yes. She says she didn't know for the first few years that your father was taking credit for stability you provided. But she admits that she did find out about a year ago, found a bank statement with your transfer on it. She confronted your father and he told her it was temporary and not to mention it to anyone. She says she should have told you immediately. She says she chose to protect her marriage instead of her son. I was silent for a long moment. Anything else? She ends by saying she's moved into the apartment with your father, but she doesn't know if the marriage will survive this. She says she sees him clearly now in ways she didn't before. And she says that regardless of what happens between her and your father, she understands she destroyed her relationship with you, and that's her burden to carry. Isabel folded the letter and offered it to me. I didn't take it. Put it in my desk drawer. I might read it someday. But not today. By December of the following year, almost exactly 12 months after the Christmas confrontation, my life had stabilized into something new and surprisingly peaceful. Isabel and I had moved to a larger condo in a better neighborhood, purchased with money that would have gone to my parents' mortgage. We'd taken a 2-week vacation to Mexico to visit her extended family. I'd received a promotion at work that came with a substantial raise. The Morrison family had fractured completely. Kevin no longer spoke to me, his allegiance firmly with Dad. Melissa had sent a few tentative messages through David over the months, mostly asking if I was okay, never quite apologizing, but also never defending what had happened. I responded to none of them. Dad and Mom had indeed separated, according to David's updates. Mom filed for divorce in August, something that shocked the extended family almost as much as my Christmas revelation. Apparently, seeing her husband's selfishness and dishonesty laid bare had shattered whatever remaining foundation their marriage had. Dad now lived alone in a studio apartment, having taken a part-time job at a hardware store to supplement his inadequate pension. Mom lived with Aunt Marie, my dad's sister, who had been one of the first to condemn his actions. The 2 women had apparently grown close through the chaos, united by their disillusionment with the man who dominated both their lives, as brother to one, husband to the other. I knew these details only because David continued to be my sole connection to the Morrison family. We met for lunch monthly, and he filled me in without my having to ask. I appreciated his loyalty, though I sometimes wondered if maintaining even this thin thread to my former family was wise. Your mom asks about you every time I see her, David told me over lunch in mid-December. She never pressures me to pass messages or arrange meetings. She just asks if you're doing okay. If you're happy, what do you tell her? The truth. That you seem happier than I've ever seen you. That Isabel is thriving. That you're both doing really well without the family drama. He paused. She cries when I tell her that. But she also says she's glad. That you deserve happiness even if she's not part of it. Isabel and I spent that second Christmas in Hermosillo again, surrounded by her family. Her mother had learned to make my favorite dishes. Her father taught me Mexican jokes in Spanish that I still didn't quite understand but laughed at anyway. Her siblings treated me like I'd always been part of their family. On Christmas evening, Isabel's mother pulled me aside in the kitchen. Mijo, can I ask you something personal? Of course, Mama Rosa. Do you miss them? Your family? I considered the question carefully. I miss what I thought we were. I miss the version of them I'd built in my head. But the people they actually are? The ones who could exclude me while taking my money, who could call Isabel an outsider, who chose comfortable lies over uncomfortable truths. I shook my head. No, I don't miss those people at all. She patted my cheek with warm affection. Good. You deserve family who chooses you every day, not just when it's convenient. As the new year approached, I received one final communication from my old life. An email from Uncle Mike, Dad's brother. The subject line read, "You should know." The email was brief. "Nathan, your father had a heart attack 3 days ago. He's stable, but it was serious. The doctors say it was stress-related. Financial pressure, the divorce, isolation. Your mother visited him at the hospital despite everything. Melissa and Kevin have been there daily. I'm telling you this not because I expect you to do anything about it, but because you have a right to know. Whatever you decide, I respect your choice. Uncle Mike." I stared at the email for a long time. Isabel read it over my shoulder, her hand coming to rest on my back. "What are you feeling?" "Nothing," I said. And it was true. The news that Dad had suffered a heart attack produced no emotional response in me. No guilt, no satisfaction, no sadness, just nothing. Is that wrong? I don't think feelings can be wrong. They just are. I'm not going to visit him. I know. People will say I'm heartless. People already say that. What's a few more opinions? I closed the email without responding. Whatever happened to my father from this point forward would happen without my involvement. He'd said I was dead to him. The feeling was mutual, and a medical emergency didn't change that fundamental truth. Days later, David called with an update. "Your dad's recovering. He's going to be okay physically, but the heart attack kind of broke something in him. He's been trying to call people, make amends. Called me apologizing for not seeing clearly about what he did to you. Called your Aunt Marie saying he made mistakes. Pretty much everyone is telling him it's way too late for apologies. Is he trying to contact me? He asked me for your number. I told him I wouldn't give it without your permission. Don't give it. I meant what I said. We're done." That's what I figured, but I had to ask. David paused. "Your mom hasn't tried to use this as an excuse to contact you. She actually told your dad that his heart attack doesn't erase what he did, and that he needs to accept he destroyed his relationship with you permanently. She's been surprisingly strong about boundaries." That information settled something in me. Mom's consistent respect for the wall I'd built between us, her refusal to use her ex-husband's medical crisis as leverage for reconciliation, it suggested genuine understanding of the damage that had been done. It didn't heal anything, but it was noted. Spring arrived, bringing Arizona's intense heat and the anniversary of the most transformative period of my life. Isabel and I were sitting on our patio one evening, watching the sunset paint the sky in violent shades of orange and purple, when she asked, "If you could go back to last June knowing everything that would happen, would you do it differently?" Which part? Would I have confronted them sooner? Any of it. All of it. I thought about the binder of evidence I'd compiled, the Christmas confrontation, the cold satisfaction of watching comprehension dawn on their faces as I laid out exactly what they'd been doing, the complete severance of ties with people who'd known me my entire life. "No," I said firmly. "I wouldn't change anything. They needed to face consequences. Real, permanent consequences. Not forgiveness and second chances and family therapy sessions where everyone cries and promises to do better. Actual consequences. Your dad had a heart attack. Those are pretty permanent consequences." "Self-inflicted," I countered. The stress he felt was from facing the reality of his actions. I didn't cause his heart attack. His choices did. His lies, his racism, his fraud. Those caused his stress, which caused his heart attack. I just refused to keep enabling the system he'd built. Isabel nodded slowly. "You know what I respect most about what you did? You never wavered. Not once in 18 months have you expressed regret or doubt. You decided what you were worth and you stuck to it. They took $79,500 from me while treating me as expendable. The least I could do was stop being expendable. As summer deepened and the second anniversary of my exclusion approached, I realized I rarely thought about the Morrison family anymore. They'd become like a story I'd heard about someone else. Interesting in its drama, but distant and emotionally irrelevant. I'd built a new life, a better life, with people who actually valued me. My chosen family now consisted of Isabel's relatives, work colleagues who'd become genuine friends, David and his wife, and Tyler, a co-worker who'd experienced similar family estrangement and understood the specific grief of losing people who were supposed to be permanent. We celebrated holidays together, supported each other through professional challenges, and built the kind of relationships that my blood relatives had proven incapable of maintaining. In August, I received an email from a lawyer representing my mother. The subject line read, "Estate planning information." My stomach tightened instinctively. Was Mom sick? Dying? The email explained that Mom was updating her will and wanted me to know that I was listed as a beneficiary. The lawyer emphasized that this notification carried no obligation and that Mom had specifically requested no response be expected or required. The email included one personal note from Mom, relayed through the lawyer. "I want you to know you're provided for, even though I know material things don't repair broken relationships. This isn't an attempt to buy forgiveness or force contact. It's simply making sure you're taken care of, as I should have done all along. I hope you're happy, Nathan. You deserve happiness. Linda." Isabel read the email and observed, "She's really learned boundaries. That's growth. It doesn't change anything." "I know, but you can acknowledge growth without having to forgive or reconcile." She was right. Mom's consistent respect for my boundaries, her refusal to use medical scares or legal matters as leverage for contact, her apparent genuine acceptance of permanent separation. It demonstrated learning, even if that learning came too late to matter. By the time December arrived for the third time since the confrontation, I'd completely rebuilt my life's foundation. The hole where the Morrison family used to be had been filled with better materials, people who chose me actively, repeatedly, without conditions or requirements. On Christmas Eve, Isabel and I hosted dinner at our condo for our chosen family, her siblings visiting from Mexico, David and his wife, Tyler and his partner, and several work friends. The table was crowded, loud with laughter and conversation in both English and Spanish. Someone made a toast to families we choose, and everyone cheered. Later, as we cleaned up, Isabel said, "You know what I realized tonight? You never mention them anymore. Your birth family. They used to take up so much space in your thoughts, and now they're just gone. Is that cold? No, it's healthy. You gave them every chance to do right by you. They chose wrong repeatedly. At some point, cutting losses isn't cruelty. It's self-preservation." I thought about Dad alone in his studio apartment, about Kevin still defending indefensible behavior, about Melissa's half-hearted attempts at fence mending, about Mom living with the consequences of choosing her husband over her son until it was too late. I felt no satisfaction in their diminished circumstances, but no guilt either. Just the neutral acknowledgement that people who make destructive choices face destructive results. The Morrison family had imploded not because I'd exposed them, but because their foundation was always rotting, built on conditional acceptance, financial dishonesty, and the kind of casual racism that families tell themselves doesn't really count as racism. I'd simply pulled back the curtain and forced everyone to see what was already there. Some family members had chosen differently after seeing clearly. Aunt Marie, Uncle Mike, David. They'd sided with accountability over comfortable family unity. Others had doubled down, choosing to blame the messenger rather than face the message. That was their choice to make, and their consequence to live with. As for me, I'd learned the most important lesson of all. Family is not defined by blood or obligation. It's defined by respect, chosen daily and demonstrated through actions. The Morrison family had stopped being family the moment they decided I was expendable. Everything that followed was just accepting that reality and acting accordingly. 3 years later, I'd built something better from the rubble of that demolished foundation. I had a wife who valued me completely, in-laws who treated me like a son without qualification, friends who showed up consistently, and a life that felt authentic rather than obligatory. The Morrison family name meant nothing to me now, except as a reminder of what I'd survived and overcome. I never did read Mom's letter, still sitting in my desk drawer. Maybe someday I would. Maybe someday I wouldn't. It didn't matter either way. The closure I needed had come not from their apologies or explanations, but from my own decision to stop setting myself on fire to keep people warm who wouldn't even acknowledge I was burning. That was enough. That was more than enough. That was everything.